AT-6. If you look to your left, the yellow airplane that has a canopy on it is a Fairchild PT-26. I've flown that airplane, and also there's a PT-19 and a PT-23 that was a primary trainer that was used in World War II. The silver biplane back there is a Stearman PT-17. That was a primary trainer in World War II. The orange airplane is a Korean War and a Vietnam War era airplane, which was used as a liaison airplane, and the olive drab airplane is a L5, was used in World War II in Korea as a liaison airplane. We're entering the fighter town area, and here you're going to see a lot of the World War II fighters. First airplane on the right is a Wildcat, and on the left as we go down the line here is a whole bunch of P-51s, which was America's premier fighter in World War II. And our right, of course, also is a bunch of first one is a P-51, then a Spitfire, and a couple of P-40s. When Hermann Goering saw P-51s over Berlin, he stated he knew that the war was lost, because the P-51 was the first fighter that we had that could reach Berlin and escort the bombers. Spitfire was a great fighter in the Battle of Britain, but it did not have a long range. The P-40, of course, was legendary with the Chenault and the Flying Tigers, but it was used all over the theater in Africa and Europe and the Pacific. It was a great fighter, but it was not as advanced as some of the other fighters. If anybody has any questions, you can holler and ask them. As we make the corner here, to our right is a reenactor area. This area is dedicated to a former B-25 co-pilot, Joe Miller, who passed away this year. He was a personal friend of mine. I used to fly his L3 for him, and they're going to rededicate this field, and it's going to be called the Joseph Miller Memorial Field. He was a great guy. He came here every year and made them jambalaya, and he was a hero to these folks. To the far left, you'll see a Corsair. I didn't know whether we were going to make a left here or not, but one thing you might want to do if you have a chance is go visit these reenactors. They are very, very dedicated to their hobby of helping keep history alive, and you'll see actual World War II uniforms, and they are very faithful to reenacting the World War II era and the vehicles as well. Next area that we're going to come to is the L-birds, which I have to say are my favorite, because I'm an L-bird pilot and I own an L-bird. The first one on the right is my airplane. It's an L-16. It's a Korean War L-bird. They used them in Korea as artillery spotter planes. All of these airplanes that we're going to see here in the L-bird area were used in World War II and Korea as artillery artillery spotter planes. They fly over the enemy positions, call in artillery fire, and direct the artillery fire. On the right, first airplane is an L5, and then we have an L4, another L16, an L5. The L4 was the most common airplane, was most numerous, was the L4, and it's the military version of the Piper J3 Cub. The far one down there with a B on it is an Aranca L3. I used to fly one of those for a friend, Joe Miller. All those airplanes are fabric covered. It's hard to imagine flying something like that in harm's way. On the left, the blue and yellow airplane is another Fairchild PT-26. It was a primary trainer in World War II. The red and white airplane is a Chipmunk. There's a row of, there's 3 Chipmunks there. Those were British trainers in World War II. As you turn the corner here, the first airplane on your right is what they call a Super Chipmunk. It's a souped up Chipmunk. It's not authentic to World War II. On our left here, these biplanes are Stearman's PT-17s. Another favorite of mine. If you ever get a chance to get a ride in a Stearman, it is a hoot. And they say a Stearman, well, they don't say, it is a fact. The Stearman is stronger than an F-16. You can't break the Stearman. They are a very, very strong airplane. It was a primary trainer of World War II. Most pilots learn to fly in a Stearman, and most of them have Continental 220 horsepower radial engines. Some of them had Jacobs engines, and after the war, people put bigger engines on them, use them for crop dusting. But it's a very popular airplane for warbird enthusiasts. On our right is a row of T6s, SNJs that were the advanced trainer in World War II. Pilots flew these before they went to the fighters, and they say if you can fly these, you can fly just about any of the fighters. I've flown these, and they are not an easy airplane to fly, but they are a fun airplane to fly. They're very acrobatic, but they're underpowered. And when you see formation aerobatics in these airplanes, you really have to admire the skill of the pilots doing precision formation aerobatics in these airplanes. The more modern flip-flop aerobatics, which I call them, they are very, very overpowered airplanes. But to do precision aerobatics in these airplanes takes a high degree of skill. They're amazing airplanes. And they're very, very popular airplanes in the warbird community. You can buy a decent airplane for $125,000. You can buy an absolute immaculate, pristine, restored one for $400,000 to $500,000 if you have deep pockets. And they're a reasonably, you can maintain them with a reasonable budget. On the right, these are yak or Nanshangs. To be honest with you, I cannot tell them apart. They are communist bloc country trainers, and they're great airplanes. They're very acrobatic. They are are O2, L2, commonly called Huff and Puff. They're a military version of a Cessna 337. They were used in Vietnam as forward air traffic control and L-birds in Vietnam. You've seen these in a lot of the Vietnam movies. Great airplanes. Some of them have hard points on them. They would have rockets that they would mark the targets for the jets. Farther down the road to the right are L-17 Navions and L-19 Cessna bird dogs that were used in Vietnam and Korea. And I'm sorry, I think I misspoke on those chipmunks. I think those are actually post-World War II. I don't think those were World War II trainers. I might be wrong on those. Another note on the AT-6 SNJs, the Canadian version of those, they call them Warbird. A distinction on the Canadian version, you saw a big exhaust on the outside, and those were for cabin heat, because obviously it's colder in Canada. That's how you can separate an AT-6 and SNJ from a Canadian Warbird. It has a big fat exhaust going down the outside. The yellow airplane that you see on the right is a T-34 Mentor. That was used by the Navy and the Air Force after World War II as a trainer, and it's based on a Beechcraft. It's a cannon seed aircraft. It's very popular in the Warbird movement. Another one on the left is two rows of them down here to our right. An aerobatic airplane. It's very fast, and it's real popular in the Warbird movement. And to our left again is several more Texans and SNJs. The SNJ was the Navy version. The AT-6 is the Air Force, Army Air Corps version. I'm sure it stands for something, but I'm sorry I can't give you the answer. If somebody can give you the answer, I'll give you a free bottle of water at the end of the tour. Out there is called a deuce and a half. Anybody that's seen the service, and I'm sure has had, or especially in the Army or the Marine Corps, has had plenty of rides in the deuce and a half. Here comes the AT-6. AT-6s, SNJs are very efficient machines for converting money into noise. an airplane on the right. I am not 100% sure what it is. I think it is a Hudson. The next one I am positive is a B-25, and I'm a B-25 co-pilot. And that is a great airplane, made famous by Jimmy Doolittle and the Doolittle Raiders, Tokyo. And this is a Fairchild Thunder Pig. They used these in Vietnam as transports, drop paratroopers, and I'm not sure if this is the one that's based in Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania. I think it is. Yes, it is. And great airplane. Comes to a lot of air shows in the East Coast. Here's another B-25. B-25s had many variants. This one obviously has 850 caliber machine guns in the nose, and I think it has 2 on the right side here. No, it does not. The B-25 had many variants. Some were just used primarily as bombers. This one with a 50 caliber nose. They use these a lot in the Pacific for strafing shipping. And there's another one that we'll see up farther the line here that has a 75 millimeter cannon in the nose. And imagine the shock to the Japanese shipping when a B-25 came down to strafe them and they shot them with a 75 millimeter cannon. On the left, the gray airplane that says U.S. Air Force. That's another T-34 Beach Mentor. The airplane straight ahead of us is a C-47 DC-3. I'm also a C-47 co-pilot. That is a great airplane to fly. The most humiliating thing in learning to fly a C-47 DC-3 is taxiing it. If you can taxi it and get it to the end of the runway and get it lined up, you can fly it. But it is a very difficult airplane to taxi. And they say that the only replacement for a C-47 DC-3 is another C-47. They used those in World War II as transports, drop paratroopers, and they are still flying today, obviously. And there is a group in Alaska that still uses them as an airliner. Next airplane is a C-46, which was used in World War II as a transport and drop paratroopers. It's much bigger than a DC-3. I talked to one of the pilots on Saturday that flies this thing, and I asked him, I told him I'm a C-47 pilot, and I said, is it much different? He said, this is way different than a C-47. It's a much bigger airplane. It's unbelievably higher off the ground, the pilot's seat. And it's a great airplane, but it's a much bigger airplane than a C-47. Perfect. Thank you. There's a lot more C-47 DC-3s around than there are C-46s. And there are actually very few true DC-3s. They built them up until the beginning of the war, but as soon as the war broke out, they were all C-47s. The jets on our left here, I don't know as much about them as the piston airplanes. The T-33s are the U.S. jets, the first couple here. and the next one is a A4, I think. And these next couple are foreign jets. I talked to the guy. I'm not sure what they are. I think Mitsubishi's, but I'm not sure. And the camo one is a U.S. jet. I think it's a Cessna something. It was used in Vietnam. Sorry, I don't know the name of it. Next is a Bearcat. Was brought out very late in the World War II, but the Blue Angels flew them. And the next couple there are Sky Raiders. Those were great airplanes used in Vietnam. The airplane on our right is an Albatross. It's a great amphibious airplane used by the Coast Guard, obviously. Another B-25 on our left. The little twin-engine airplane on our right that we're coming up to is a Cessna Bamboo Bomber. It was used in World War II as a transport. Great little airplane. All wood. This is Aero Commander. Bob Hoover used to fly one of these in aerobatic demonstrations. And next we're going to, on our right, are several Beech-18s. The one here next on our right, Tantalizing Takeoff, is one that was used as a bomber trainer in World War II. Was featured in several Warbird magazines recently. It's an accurate reproduction or restoration. If you have time, go look at it. It's really a neat restoration. The Tri-Gear is actually a Beech-18, and they did make some Tri-Gear Beech-18s. The planes that you see with the Japanese markings over here on the right are actually, most of them, I think, the first three are U.S. airplanes made to look like Japanese airplanes. The first one is a T6 made to look like a Jap Zero. The next two are probably BT-13s made to look like Japanese airplanes. The third one, the gray one, is a no, it's not. That is a T6 made to look like a Jap Zero. And the green one is probably a BT-13 made to look like a Jap torpedo bomber. But these last three, those are all T6s made to look like Jap Zeros. Occasionally we do get a real Jap Zero in here, but the telltale on them is where the wing attaches to the center section. You can see there's a fairing on there. I'm not all that much of an authority on them to really tell them from this distance whether they're actual real Jap Zeros or not, so don't would take me as the absolute authority on them. The airplane right on our left, the British airplane, is a Hawker Fury, Sea Fury. It's post-World War II. Way out to our left is a bunch of T-34s. Those were great trainers that the Air Force and Navy used post-World War II to transition into jets. And coming up on our left and right are Corsairs. Great Navy fighters, fighter bombers in World War II and Korea. And TBM Avengers. George Bush, first George Bush, flew TBM Avengers off of carriers in World War II. It was the biggest carrier-borne airplane in World War II. At the museum that I volunteer at, I work on one. I've never gotten to ride in one or fly it, but it's a great airplane. On the left is another B-25 in Russian markings, and to the left of it is a P-47. These Japanese planes on the right were used in the movie Tora, and they will be used in the Warbird Air Show on Friday, and there will be lots of pyro. It will be a great air show on Friday. B-25 on the left is Panchito, and there's another B-25 to the left. And there's a beautiful P-39 and P-40 out there to your left. To our right, coincidentally, is Warbird merchandise, and you can join Warbirds. We hope you've enjoyed this tour, and I hope you'll join Warbirds.